It's The Drive on your local radio station. We are ESPN Blacksburg, and a good Thursday afternoon to all of you. My name is Paul Van Wagner. Nathan Brennan is in the other studio. Andrew Alex is sitting across from me right now. Gentlemen, we have a very special guest coming on here in this segment. But before we get to him, I want to mention to you guys that I think that we need to just continuously shame this individual until he shows up this year to a Hokie football game and spends a weekend with us doing our Saturday thing. Like we need to make that happen. Can we do that? As a trio, can we just shame him?
Has he never been?
He's never been. No.
Come on.
He has never come here to visit his good buddy Paul. He keeps telling me that it's going to happen, and I keep crapping in one hand and hoping in the other, and I just end up with a handful of crap. So let's do this.
Can't keep my hands to myself. No matter how hard I'm trying to.
Scott Nason.
I want
Scott.
all to myself.
Scott Nason.
Scott.
I love Scott like a love song, baby.
Scott Nason.
Scott.
Scott Nason. Scott Nason. Scott Nason.
Absolutely, let's go.
All right, here's the deal, Scott Nason. I have the Virginia Tech football schedule up in front of me right now. Pick a weekend. Now, let's do it. No more of this. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna talk to some people. Let's pick a weekend right now, and let's just get you here for a game. Let's make it happen.
Well, good afternoon, Paul. Thanks for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to come on and talk sports, and appreciate the warm greeting. Looking at the schedule, I haven't even looked at the schedule yet. So let me do this. Let me look at my schedule over the weekend, and next week I will give the best available weekend that I can come down. Is that a compromise?
Here's the deal. You tell us what weekend you're coming down. You tell us how many tickets you want, and you're set. You're good to go.
All right.
So
deal.
all we need from you next week, well, I'm on vacation next week, so the week after next, all we need from you is just a commitment to a weekend.
I don't want to be publicly shamed on the airways. I don't want any part of that.
Again,
yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, good enough. I think, gentlemen, I feel like we've done something today. I'm just throwing it out there. Scott, of course, is a friend of mine. For those of you that are new to the show, Scott's a friend of mine from back home in Michigan, and of course, he and I are both Big Ten football guys. Me, Michigan; Scott, Michigan State. And Scott, as you look at the landscape in the Big Ten this year, moving forward, a lot of things have changed. Some things have stayed the same. There are definitely some question marks out there. Specifically, new coaching regime at Ohio State. There has been some turnover. Some players have left. Some players have graduated. Is the East up for grabs now since Ohio State has had a stranglehold on it for so long?
I think it is, Paul, with the teams that are out there. And, I've had too much of a chance to look at the college. I've been focusing a little more on the pro football, considering the Lions rookies actually report today. But I think it is a little more up for grabs. I mean, obviously, Michigan at this time of year always has a lot of hype, and I think for good reason this year. I mean, they probably have the most talented team coming back in the East. But again, we've said that as far as maybe not the most talented team, but they've been favorites before and just not been able to get over that hump being Ohio State and Urban Meyer. That someone that has owned the Michigan Wolverines. They've been able to beat Michigan State. They should probably again this year. But really, I think it comes down to that Michigan-Ohio State game. Both teams potentially will have stumbling blocks before then. I mean, maybe they'll each have a loss going into that one, but I really think that one will probably decide who wins the Big Ten East.
I mean, obviously, Penn State is a team that you have to look at. I mean, you look at Penn State's schedule. It is formidable. However, it's doable. And by that, I mean they have Michigan at home. They do have to travel to Michigan State. They do have to travel to Ohio State. But they play Ohio State right before Ohio State plays Michigan. So there is kind of that, could that possibly be a trap game for the Nittany Lions? But you look at the rest of their schedule, they have to go on the road to Purdue. Excuse me while I fall asleep. They have to go on the road to, they have to go on the road to Minnesota. They have Purdue at home. They have to go on the road to Iowa. They have to, and that's really it. They have to go on the road to Maryland. So these aren't tough road games for Penn State. They seem to me to be a team that definitely maybe isn't going to surprise anyone, but definitely can screw up some people's weekends.
I think so, Paul. I mean, I think realistically they're one of 3 teams that can win the Big Ten East. I just don't put Michigan State in there. They'll be lucky to get 7 wins this year, in my opinion. They got a long ways to come back again as far as that program. But yeah, Penn State of the 3, I think, has the best schedule. But again, there's going to be there's always that 1 or 2 games early, that will surprise some, and you can never quite figure out the Big Ten. I mean, we've seen Ohio State have a stranglehold, but there's a rocky road to there, and I don't know. Is this the year for Michigan? I usually don't buy into the hype so much, but this year I might.
My Michigan fandom and my Detroit Lion fandom both allow me to never buy into hype. Show me something on the field, and then we'll talk. Now, as a Michigan State fan, I want to pose this question to you. Brian Lewerke, if I set the line at starting 4.5 games for the Spartans, do you take the over or the under with Brian Lewerke?
I'm taking the under. I don't see what they could possibly accomplish with this guy. I understand last year there were other issues, not just him, but he was god-awful most of the season after having a pretty good half of the year the season before. And, there's got to be somebody, I can't think of his name right now, but the backup from last year, maybe Rocky Dennis or whatever the heck his name is.
Rocky Lombardi.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. Lombardi. How can I forget that one?
Yeah.
But I think there's got to be some competition from somewhere else. I don't think Lewerke's the guy. I don't think he gets it done. He may start a couple games, but 4.5, that's a good line. I'll take the under maybe at 4.
The one thing that Michigan State always seems to be able to produce and churn out are running backs, and they've got some depth there. You got to watch out for the Spartans. They're going to try to run the ball against you, and they've got some youth. You look at their running back core, sophomore, freshman, sophomore, freshman, sophomore. This is a young group for the Spartans, and if they can stick around for a while, they can hurt some people.
Yeah, and, Michigan State has traditionally always run the ball very well. I mean, you go back to when they won, the first Rose Bowl of my lifetime with Lorenzo White back in the late 1980s, and obviously some that we talk about in the NFL today. And so, this year's no exception. Michigan State's going to win. They got to run the ball, and they got to do it a lot. And, if they're going to win this year, again, not probably one of the top 3 favorites in the Big Ten East, but they're still a decent team. They're probably a bowl team, and they could knock off one of the major 3. They're they've won the last 2 trips to Ann Arbor, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they get it done this year. They have Ohio State at home, and so who knows? They can get it done on any given Saturday or Friday or whatever the heck else they play this year. But I just don't see it being a very super successful year in Spartanland this year.
The other teams in the East include Maryland, Indiana, and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, Andrew Alex's 4th favorite college team.
The worst of all of them.
Do you see any of these teams? I mean, right now you've got Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, then you got Michigan State sitting at 4. Do any of these teams even sniff that 4-3 spot, or is this just the 5, 6, 7 team in some order?
I really think it's split into 3 categories. You have Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State in the top tier. You have Michigan State pretty much on an island in mid-pack second, and then you got those 3 teams. I mean, Indiana, of the 3, maybe has a chance to finish higher than Michigan State. They've made bowls over the past few seasons and can knock off some teams, especially at home. But Maryland and Rutgers, I mean, those teams have struggled, and I just don't see how they don't continue to struggle in that conference. If they're in the West, maybe they have a better chance, but in the East, no way. They're going to be in that third tier, I should say.
In case you missed Trey Lyle being here comes the Trey Lyle take from Nathan Brennan.
Disrespecting the Hoosiers, huh, Scott?
In football, yes. Basketball, not so much.
I see how it is. After a 5-7 season, they can only go up. That's not true.
No, that's absolutely
They
not
can only
true.
go up from here.
Rutgers begs to differ at 1-11.
Exactly right.
Let me ask you, just in all seriousness, Nathan, do you disagree with Scott that there is a bottom tier in the East and Indiana is in that bottom tier?
Ever since Sudfeld left Indiana, they've been pretty rough. I would say they're probably bottom tier.
The other end of it, Scott, the Western Conference in the Big Ten is got a little bit more up for grabs. Northwestern, Wisconsin, Iowa always can make noise. Purdue and Nebraska sometimes show up. The jury's still out on PJ Fleck as the coach at Minnesota. Made a bowl game last year at 7-6. Didn't do very well in the Big Ten though. And then of course you've got Illinois, who is somewhere around the bottom, but not quite as bad as Rutgers. What is your take on the West?
I think it's the Wild West again this year. I mean, I don't think many people had Northwestern winning the Big Ten West last year, and that's a successful story, and they're going to be good this year. You always look at Wisconsin being up there. I mean, Wisconsin does take on a lot of the tougher Eastern schools. They actually play Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State.
Yeah.
And so that's not going to be easy for them. I think Iowa maybe loses a little bit from last year. Obviously, the tight end going to the Lions there, Hawkinson, he's going to be a big loss. But, I think any of those three can win. And who knows, maybe a team out of nowhere like Northwestern, maybe a Minnesota in second year, they're making a bowl. Maybe they make a move. But I still think Wisconsin, Northwestern, probably the class of the West. But I still think whoever comes out of that is still a notch or two below even the top three teams in the East.
Yeah, if they were in the East, would they be in that group? Do you think with Michigan State in that middle group?
I think somewhere there, more around them than maybe Ohio State or Michigan. I think they could compete with Penn State potentially. Yeah, I would put them in the 1A category with that one. They're just slightly ahead of Michigan State, slightly below Ohio State and Michigan, more in the Penn State realm.
All right, so I want you to go on record right now. Nathan Brennan, will you write this down, please? I want Scott Nason to go on the record Thursday, July 18th, 2019 at 4:47 p.m. I would like Scott Nason to pick the two teams in the Big Ten that are going to be playing in the Big Ten championship.
I'm going to start with the East, and it's not easy for me to say this, Paul, but they're due. Jim Harbaugh's fifth season, they need to win the Big Ten East, and they need to beat Ohio State, and I think they do both this year. So I'm going to take Michigan in the East. West, a little more unclear to me. I think I would pick Wisconsin other than their schedule. I don't like their schedule.
Right.
I think Northwestern has a better schedule, and so give me the Wildcats in the West.
All right, I like it. And if he is correct, when he comes here to watch a Hokie football game this fall, gentlemen, I will make sure that Scott Nason gets chicken wings at Hokie House.
Scott, if you come to a football game this fall, I guarantee you will have such a good time that you'll never want to come back.
I have no doubt of that. I mean, I look at the home games in Blacksburg, and just the entrance I'm excited about. To hear that song, obviously, Enter Sandman, and just the atmosphere of college football. I've been to quite a few college football games, including Michigan and Michigan State, but I'd really like to see a different conference and a different atmosphere, and so I would definitely like to enjoy Blacksburg, my friend.
Brennan will even take you to one of his tailgate parties. My advice to you is to wear protection.
That's always a good rule of thumb in any realm, Paul, and I appreciate that.
You're more than welcome to come, Scott.
Thank you.
Scott Nason, where can our listeners get more great content from you?
You can go to the website, thegamesportshow.com. There we have a bevy of shows coming soon to ESPN Radio a week from Monday here locally in Sault Ste. Marie. Nice.
I like it. Now, is that going to be streaming live?
I believe so. We're still working out the details, but we will definitely get those out there, and we'll put them on our website.
Scotty, as always, my man, I appreciate you. Real quick, though, before I let you go, more wins this year in college football, Virginia Tech or Michigan State?
Ooh, good question. I got to go Hokies in that one. I think with the schedule, I would say Michigan State would get at max 7. I think Virginia Tech gets over 7, so I'll go with the Hokies.
Nice. Way to pander to the masses. We appreciate you. Scott,
you know me, Paul.
I do. You could run for office except for all those skeletons. Scott, you have a fantastic rest of your week. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks, my man.
Sounds good. Enjoy your vacation, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir. Talk to you later. Scott Nason, we appreciate him joining us. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, more ACC previews. Plus, we're going to be joined by Jeff Kleppen from The Hill, talk a little golf. Tina will be in with traffic. Matt McMurray going to swing by. Lord only knows what he wants to talk about, but we're going to find out. Plus, again, more ACC previews on the drive.
ESPN Blacksburg.
Must be game time.
We speak sports. AM 810, FM 93.1, 97.1, and live on the web at espnblacksburg.com.